Hello, 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 hello. Am I here? Can you hear me? Welcome. Hello, hello, Eleanor. Lovely to see you again. I'm not feeling brilliant today, but I'm here and I'm going to muddle through. Just feeling a bit flat today, like like a bottle of pop. You call it pop when you fizzy drink. A bottle of fizzy drink. When you've left the lid off it for a little bit too long. Or you've left the lid, or once you've opened it, the fizz starts to go, doesn't it? I feel a bit like that today. I feel a bit flat and fizzless. But we'll see how we get on. I often find coming into this space and talking to you helps. I feel better. I like it. I think that's why. So let me know where in the world you are. Tell me what's brought you here today, because the title about freeing ourselves from relationship frustrations and patterns and things is quite a significant one, I think. So I'm always interested to know what's actually brought you here to this live, whether there's something that you've noticed about yourself in regard to this. I'm just getting my profile up so I can see future events to tell you about in a bit. Yeah, so freeing yourself from relationship patterns. Have you noticed some patterns you've got in your relationships? And have you realised they're about you? That's what we're going to really explore today. Because sometimes it might look like it's an outside-in thing, but you just attract the wrong kind of people or something. So we might look at it from two perspectives, from a sort of, am I attracting the same kind of people all the time? And also, am I in the same patterns within my relationships with the people I am in relation with? Excuse me. So I'm going to apologise for yawning. I had a very strange night's sleep last night. I've recently been having a lot more dreams. Very strange. So, Linda, hello, Claire. You've identified taking care of others who tend to just use you. Ooh, that's a good spot. Yeah. I wonder what that's all about. Well, we don't need to know too much about what it's about, but we can start to bring some awareness to it and hopefully help it to become less of a pattern. And I think it's a fine line, Linda, isn't it? Because if you're a caring person, you're a caring person. And you don't want to get rid of that, do you? You don't want to suddenly stop being just become a right horrible old what. Then you don't want that, but then you don't want to be road roughshod over either, do you? We don't want either of those things. So hello, Nancy. Oh, that's lovely, Nancy, and sweet souls. Greetings from San Diego. Yeah, let me know where in the world you are. That's always good to know. Emily's an unintentional knack for being single. Oh, that's an interesting one, Emily. That could be something we could explore a bit. In terms of, that's a different kind of relationship pattern, isn't it? But what we're going to be pointing to today is that it's all coming from the same source, really. And that's what we look at in the three principles. So, Petra, hi from Cologne in Germany. Welcome. So, a little bit about me before we start. Let me know if you're new here. I'm kind of in a bit of a low energy space today. So if you are new here and you think, oh, is she awake or not? then I'm not always this flat. I'm just a little bit off today. I can't quite put my finger on it. A bit headachy, really tired. I tried going for a walk this morning. I ended up going for like an 8-mile walk, which probably didn't help matters. But that's kind of where I ended up. I just ended up doing a long walk. But last night my sleep was all over the place, in and out of sleep a few too many times, more times than I would like it to have been. So, but we'll get through this together. I know that I'm in a lovely, safe, supportive space on the Insight Timer, which is why I turn up here, even when I'm not feeling so good, because it would have been very easy to cancel, but I'm here. And I can see lots of people coming in, which is lovely. So yeah, let me know where you are in the world, what's brought you here today. Thank you for those people that have already shared a pattern that they've noticed, and that's the key, is noticing them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. So my name's Claire Downham. I'm known as the Queen of Calm, and as I say to people, that's not because I'm calm all the time, because I am not. And those of you that are regulars here will know that Bruce, poor Bruce, my fiance, bless him, he gets the brunt of me when I'm not calm. he's the one who gets like grumpy Claire and critical Claire and frustrated Claire and just generally cross with other people's behaviour Claire. Ranty Claire, he gets ranty Claire as well. Queen of ranting, queen of frustration, the queen of criticism. He gets all of those. The key is not that anybody is ever supposed to be calm all the time. But I think what's happened to me is I'm not too bothered when I'm not. I know it's okay. I know it's human. I know it will pass. And I've learned not to make meaning out of it. So I can be grumpy, and I can, like today, not that long ago, I would have been, well, what's wrong with me, and what have I eaten, and is it a full moon, or is there something different I need to do? Have I eaten the wrong things, or because I was always on some kind of autoimmune protocol or something. And now I'm just sort of, well, this is where I am today, and I'll turn up and do what I can. And I have spent some time sat on the sofa today, chilling out a bit and resting, and it's all okay. No meaning required. I'm a human being. I'm supposed to have a human experience. It's not supposed to be like this. It is supposed to go up and down. But I have to say, since the last 3.5 years, it does go up and down a little less. So what's happened to me in the last 3.5 years is that I've learned something, well, a bit more than 3.5 years now. I've learned something called the 3 principles. And the 3 principles is a really simple understanding about how the mind works. So let me know in the comments if you've come across the 3 principles. And if you've not, it's good to know, it's good for me to know in terms of what I teach today, where people are coming from, whether people have come across the 3 principles or whether they are completely new to them. So 3 principles is a psycho-spiritual understanding of how the human experience is created. So it explains this in simple principle, in a simple principle way, why we feel the way we feel, what thought is, what our behaviour is, where it comes from, how do habits get formed, how does change occur, all sorts of things to do with, why we like some things and don't like others, but not in an individual way, not in a psychotherapeutic way, not poking around in our past and in our stuff, but just like, what's the truths about all human beings regarding these things? What's the truth about all human beings and feelings? And we look at that. And the 3 principles are actually thought, consciousness, and mind, but I don't talk about them much, bizarrely. I talk about the implications of them. However, if you want to know a little bit more about the 3 principles, I have a track called What Are the 3 Principles and Why Do They Bring More Ease to Life? I really do recommend listening to that track. It's a really good one to listen to. And hello, Gloria, checking in from Nairobi. Do you know, that's really funny? I was on a business networking meeting an hour or so ago, and there was a lady there from Nairobi. What a small world. It is a small world these days, isn't it? But isn't that funny? And you're seeking to learn and community. That's lovely. Well, I do have a little community on here. It is very little. And it's called Powered by Calm. So, because that's something I help people to do, to have a life that's powered by calm, not powered by busyness. Who's tired of hearing people say, I'm busy, but it's a good busy? There's nothing good about busy. There's nothing good about being busy. I think we've given busyness this badge of honour title, this badge of honour kind of, we've given it kudos where it's not really helpful to have given it so much kudos. So yeah, I came across 3 principles 4 years ago. It changed my life completely. Really, really. Oh yeah, Gloria, drop me a message. That'd be nice. Changed my life, changed all my experience, made everything a lot better, made everything nicer, and as a result, I felt it was wrong for me not to share this, really. I would have been letting the world down if I didn't. Good morning, Jen from Maryland. It's 4 p.m. here in the UK, but I know it's morning in some places. So, what can you do with me on Insight Timer to help you to learn more about the 3 principles? Well, first of all, you can turn up to these lives, and there are going to be. Am I doing 4 this week? I think I'm doing 4 this week. I lose track because I do quite a lot, so we're doing 1 today. No, we're doing 5 this week, actually. We're doing 1 every day. They're all at different times to suit different time zones. But I'm going to be doing, at the moment I'm doing 1 on a Tuesday morning, but I'm going to move it to this sort of time in the not too distant future, because I'm going to be starting a Zoom that you can join just after the live. So that's going to be how that's going to work. So I do lives on here. I have 4 courses now. This month I'm particularly exploring relationships, and I've got a course called Creating Harmonious Connections and Enhancing Relationships with the 3 Principles. So I recommend you have a look at that. And I'm always looking for the theme for the next month. So next month will be September. I always find September a bit of a new beginning type time of year for me, because in the UK that's where the schools go back after the long summer break, and I used to be a teacher, so I kind of have an affinity with that. So we're exploring relationships this month. What's been interesting is relationships and productivity seem to have some of the same things that come up, like repeating patterns, which is what we're going to talk about today. Anybody else notice they've got repeating patterns around productivity? Probably. Turns out it's all the same thing. Hello, Thomas. Good to see you. Not seen you for a while. Lovely to have you here. So please do follow me if you don't follow me already. That's where you'll get to find out everything else I'm up to in the world. And that's where you can learn about the 3 principles. I've got loads of free tracks. As I say, I've got 4 courses. Definitely worth having a look at those. I think you can see on there the order in which I've created them. That would be a good order to work through them, really, because you kind of get my journey along with the learning that you're going to get as well. Yeah, check out the link in my bio. That'll tell you a little bit more about the 3 principles as well. And I've got a playlist on there from the founder, Sydney Banks, because he isn't with us anymore, so I can't get him to come on to Insight Timer, unfortunately, although I'm sure he's here in spirit. So, and just to remind you that these lovely sessions are brought to you by donation. If you are able to support me through donation, that does mean a lot, and it does help me to show up here on such a regular basis and support all of you, mostly from the goodness of my heart. So thank you if you are able to make a donation. It supports me and it supports Insight Time as well, which is a fantastic space. I'm so grateful I've got this space to hang out in. So freeing yourself from relationship patterns. Just at the moment when I've become an angel, look. The sun's not been there. It's been in and out today, but it has actually stayed dry all day, which is the first. No, I don't know. We've had so much rain here. Anybody else in the UK and a little bit tired of the rain? Like, I know the rain isn't great in my experience, but I would prefer it if it sunshined a bit more. Although this morning on my walk, it was lovely. I got quite a lot of sun on my walk. It was nice this morning. So, and if you're just coming in, I can see I just looked, and oh, you've got some sun. Yeah, we've got some sun now. Nottingham, you're not too far away from Thomas. And Eleanor has bought one of Sydney Banks's books, The Enlightened Gardener. That is a lovely place to start your journey, Eleanor. I really do recommend. That's probably one of my favourites. And then there's another book called The Enlightened Gardener Revisited. So if you like the characters and you like the story in The Enlightened Gardener, you'll like the revisited version as well, the second one. And hello, Liddy from Canada. Sending some sunshine energy. Yeah, I could do with a bit of that today. If you're new here, or if you are a regular here and you think, what's wrong with Claire today? I'm just really tired today. Headachy, and my sleep was very erratic last night. So I'm having some very I don't normally have strange dreams. My dreams are normally really boring, and they're crackers at the like really weird, not unhappy weird, just weird. Emil, thank you. Hi from the Netherlands. First time, Liddy. Yeah, new, and same as you with sleep. I was thinking it must be a full moon, but it's like a week since the full moon, so I don't really think I can blame that. Oh, Thomas, I'm so sorry you had a dark dream. Mine are really dark. They're just flipping weird. Really weird. Anyway, let's crack on. You could distract me, all of you, in the comments for the rest of the session, and we won't talk at all about our relationship patterns. So it's frustrating, isn't it? You know, when you notice that you're doing the same thing again, and I've had a few comments from people already way up in the comments about this, but how it's either, you know, there's a couple of things. There's something around us going into a new relationship and discovering that we've created another relationship. Oh my God, it's the same as the last one. Or we go into a job, another job that ends up the same. The relationships go the same way. And in actual fact, I know somebody who has left the last 4 jobs due to bullying. Now, I maybe don't think bullying is as rife as that. I know it does happen, but this woman's perspective is that Bruce and I, my fiance, are bullying her. So it just her perception is very bullying based. So of course that's what she sees in the world. She's even the little boy, Bruce and hers little boy, is going to high school in September, and she sent us a very long, very wound up email about how bullying exists at high school, and it does exist, and blah blah blah. And he's not even got there yet, the poor kid. He's never been bullied in primary school. He's no experience of bullying, but she's already quite wound up about it before he even goes. Oh, that's nice, Thompson. And then know each other. That's good. And I'm so sorry about that, Liddy. So there's a kind of patterns that we carry with us in terms of, oh, here's another relationship that looks like my last relationship. Oh, here's another person behaving in a similar way. And then the other side of it is when we have some self-awareness, but perhaps a little judgmentally, that oh here we go again with the same thing that we did in our last relationship, or even repeating a pattern within a relationship. Now, when I talk about relationships, I'm not just talking about your close personal kind of partnership with another person, with another man or woman, or who, somebody else, somebody who doesn't identify as a man or woman, doesn't really matter, with another human. Human's a better word, isn't it? Let's just stick to that. It's just that we, it doesn't really matter what relationship. It can be that partner relationship, but it can be just anything where we are in relation with other human beings. And that's, unless you are a hermit living in a cave somewhere who doesn't have anything to do with other people, you kind of have to be in relation with other people, definitely. So Elaine mentions that she's in the past. That's promising, Elaine, that you've dropped that pattern. You were always going to relationships from a place of neediness. Oh God, me too, Elaine. Definitely. Going in with neediness and then needing them to be different so that I could have an okay experience of life. So let's talk first of all about how do our patterns get created when we, like a few people are saying, oh, we're in one thing, one relationship, one job, one partnership, whatever, and then we go into another one and we find that we have created an exactly the same type of relationship again. And I can talk very personally about this, and it's something that I'm still not working on, because I don't really treat myself like at some projects anymore. Okay, used to. But it's definitely something that I notice a little bit. So my ex-husband, who lives next door, and I go like that because he's through that wall. So my ex-husband lives next door. My ex-husband and I had just a hard relationship, really, for much of the time we were together. It was just very full of bickering and falling out and criticism from me and defensiveness from him, and yeah, we were just not the right people for each other. Really, excuse me. And then we split up, kind of on the back of me, him and I realizing that he was on the autistic spectrum, which probably would have been fine if I'd known from the beginning and I'd learned to accept who he was. But by that point, I was just very irritated by most of his behaviour and just angry with him all the time. And we split up 10 years ago in November. Hello, Malik from India. Lovely. So we split up 10 years ago, and then I had a bit of time when I wasn't with somebody, and then I met Bruce, my fiance, about 18 months after myself and my husband split up. Hello, Fanaz. So now this is what I started to notice as I went into this new relationship. I very quickly got hooked into he's like my ex. Very quickly. I would notice behaviours of his, and I'd start to think, oh, it looks like he's got Asperger's as well. He's doing the same kinds of things. And what happened as a result of that was me seeing more and more of the same, because this is where we can really point to how our experience is really being created. Like, there's a person out there and there's an us, and then there's this separation between the two, this illusion of separation. Let's call it that, because it is an illusion. And how you experience another person is created from your belief system. I know there's a real person out there who's not you, within the illusion of separation. There's a me and a you. We kind of need this illusion, don't we, of separation, because otherwise I couldn't have this conversation with all you lovely people. And so Karen, you're talking about a great time of disturbance as no longer feel needed or wanted by your adult children. So I'm sorry to hear that. I hope some of this is helpful today. So we have our belief system, and our belief system is created unique. It's unique to us. It's not created by us. It's just kind of installed through our experiences. Oh, thank you so much, Em. That's really kind of you to make a donation today. So our experience is created through our belief system, and this is how it works. And I just think it's so helpful to understand this, because then I think it opens up this space for curiosity, where we can kind of go, okay, this person seems to be doing a lot of this thing I don't like that was in my previous relationship and the one before that and the one before that. But can I start to hold that a little lighter? So this is what happens. Your brain is processing 11 million bits of information per second. Might be even less, per moment, per second. Let's call it per second. And you can have awareness of 50. So those are pretty crazy statistics, aren't they? 11 million to 50. somehow your brain has to get rid of that. I'm not going to do the maths and say the big number, which is 10 million, blah, blah, blah. Everything bar the 50 has to go. Your brain can't, you just can't cope with it. Your head would explode. Literally would just go, something off a crazy movie. So how does anybody know how does your brain filter out the rest of the 11 million just to keep the 50 each second? Well, it does that through your belief system. So this is the belief system that you have gained through all your experiences in your life, including your previous relationships, all your previous relationships, by the way, all the tricky, especially all the tricky ones, especially all the emotional ones, especially all the ones that go up and down and the ones that were difficult. So everything that you believe about people and how they work and everything else is all like stashed in there. We don't need to know about the past too much, really, but we can have an awareness. We just can know that there's a filtering system going on. So let's just say there's a behavior in my partner. He's called Bruce. Let's say there's a Brucey behavior that I don't like. So procrastinating. I'm laughing because I'm fairly sure that I have ADHD, but have come to live with it in a better way because of the 3 principles, which is a claim I'm not afraid to make. And so I'm quite easily distracted also, which is interesting that it's a thing I notice in Bruce. Interesting. So I think Bruce is a procrastinator. So I've got him labelled, he's got it branded on his head. He's just, that's who he is. Like, I've got this idea of Bruce in my head. So this is so he can do something that, is it procrastinating? Is it not? I don't know. Some of the time it probably isn't, but I see it as procrastinating because I've got this predetermined idea about Bruce. So if Bruce goes upstairs to do something, I'm quite impatient as well. So Bruce goes upstairs to do something, and so let's say, right, so he's got this thing about getting out of his work. So he's been out today, all kind of smart in his shirt, and not a tie, but his shirt and a jumper, because it's August, so we need a jumper on in the UK, and smart trousers and shoes and everything. And the first thing he wants to do when he gets home is get his clothes off. Sounds like, yeah, it's a very passionate relationship. Bruce can't wait to get his clothes off. No, he wants to get into his jogging bottoms and a t-shirt or a jumper or 7 layers, because August here isn't that warm. So anyway, so he wants to get into it. So sometimes he'll come in, not today because I'm here chatting to you, but sometimes he'll come in and tea will be literally ready because I've timed it. We've got this little app and I've watched him driving home on the app because I can kind of stalk him. I'll come on to that in a minute, Thomas. So tea is ready, it's nearly on the table, it's like seconds ago, and he goes, right, well, I'm just going to go upstairs and change into, because he can't not. Can't stop himself. So he goes upstairs, and I'm literally like, I'm on the clock with him. I'm like, yeah, hang on a minute, where is he? Is he back yet? He should be here by now. How long does it take to take your clothes off and put some on? So in my head, I've already decided that he's procrastinating. He's not even done anything. I've just gone to the loo or something. But I've got this thing about procrastinating. And Thomas, I know what it is. It's irritating. I find it irritating in me, and I find it irritating others. And he isn't. No, Thomas. Most of the time he isn't. Most of the time it's just my illusion. But can you see how, because I've got this belief system running, that Bruce procrastinates, and I don't like procrastination, and life is a mirror, isn't it? It just shows you what's going on for you, really. And I can procrastinate with the best of them, not as much as I used to, actually, since I came across this understanding. Thank you, Thomas. So all the time, so when we're kind of looking at these patterns in our relationships, they they are being created by us as much as they're being created by other people. And I know that sounds like crazy town, but it isn't, because somebody can do something that isn't even really that behavior, but because we're seeing it that way, because we're filtering out anything that doesn't fit. It's like if you've come across neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, they talk about delete, distort, and generalize. Our brain is just doing that all the time. We are creating our reality because we are permitting some things to come into our awareness. And when I say we, I don't mean you're deliberately doing it. I just mean this is how the human system works. We're bringing some things in and some things we're just not even bothering about. We're not seeing them. We don't experience them. Tell me a little bit more about executive dysfunction, Emily. I've heard that mentioned as part of ADHD, I think. Anyway, do let me know a little bit more about it. I will look it up also, because I feel I should know things like these phrases. I'm going to write it down so I can remember, because I'll probably procrastinate and forget. So where were we? So we're filtering all the time. So we get into these patterns. So then what happens is, what can happen in my relationship with Bruce is that I'm literally, when it comes down, I'm arms folded. Where have you been? How long have you been? What's going on? What have you been doing up there? What have you been doing up there? Dinner's ready. Da, da, da. And I'm then in a mood with him. I mean, it doesn't last long, because none of my moods last that long these days. And I don't realise that I'm creating that illusion. Like, I obviously do enough to talk to you about it now, but not all the time. So, Thomas, you asked your daughter if you've got ADHD, and you'll get back to asking for the results one day. I think you might be joking, though. So, yeah, Fanaz, it doesn't, like, it's not as heavy as it used to be. Yeah, you say nobody is a procrastinator, just to let you know. That's a label that I don't really hold much with. Yeah, and I left everything I did to the last minute too, and passed. So there you go. It's just a form of imposter syndrome with a bully. I'm not sure what that means, Lily. Oh, it's habitual. Yeah. Well, I think everything we do is habitual, isn't it? Everything we're doing that creates our experience is habitual. I don't go choosing my thinking. Nobody does. It just sort of happens. Yes, I'm glad you were joking. That's good. It can be like that with your sister belief system if she's going to take forever. Yes, okay. So you can see a similar pattern there with your sister, Thomas. So good spot there. So, Emily, it's the internal struggle for those with ADHD, difficulty staying on task activity, initiating a task activity, changing from one task to the other. Looks like procrastination, but it could be ADHD paralysis. Well, you just described me in a nutshell, so thank you, Emily. But thank you for explaining that, because I hadn't come across it like that. Well, Thomas, seriously, procrastination can be good, not doing the things that we don't want to do. Yes and no. It depends what's driving it, really. We have to be aware of our feelings. And for me, it's very much being aware of, if I think there's a better feeling in not doing something, then I'm probably on the wrong path. If I've got an inspired idea, which then gets squashed down by my rubbishy thinking, which takes me away from the idea, and I go off and do different things, then that's not really me following my wisdom. So, Emily, executive function can lead to experience time differently. You don't know how long it takes to do things, always late. That definitely used to be me, but I have to say, since the 3 principles, not so much so, which is good. Sometimes procrastinating is good as it saves us from going in the wrong direction. Yes, Liddy, maybe. maybe. I'm finding that less and less to be the case, I'll be honest with you. And different rhythms, people around you. Thank you, Emily. So Eleanor said you would not have considered that procrastination. So we're getting onto procrastination here, which I have actually done a live on not so long ago, when I did a big section on productivity, and there's quite a bit on the course, From Stress to Success: 3 Principles of Approach to Effortless Productivity. So it might be worth looking at that, and I might come on to procrastination again. But really, we're here to talk about relationship patterns. So what I'm saying is, a pattern is created, that we're getting into a pattern because our belief system tends to be making our new relationship, look like our old one. So then we can get like a bit doom and gloomy about it. We might end a relationship because we think the other person is the same as our previous relationship. And Liddy, in the 3 principles, we won't be so much looking at changing a belief system as becoming aware of it, because changing our thinking is, to me these days, too much like hard work. I've given it up as a bad job. I tried a lot of things to try and do that, but actually with awareness those things start to fall away. Like, just by looking in this direction, I do that thing that I've just described with Bruce a whole lot less, because what I notice is the feeling, and this is the guide. Always the guide is the feeling. If we are guided by our feelings from an understanding of what our feelings actually are, we are free and we are empowered. So maybe it's worth talking about that. Your feeling, your emotional response in your body, you might call that a feeling, an emotion, a sensation, whatever you call it, doesn't really matter, is an energetic reflection of the thought that you're having in the moment. So, Thomas, I would recommend The Enlightened Gardener. I would definitely recommend starting with some Sydney Banks books. But The Enlightened Gardener, that I think somebody mentioned earlier, didn't they? So many. Eleanor has mentioned The Enlightened Gardener. So let's say we notice a thing a partner is doing, or a thing a new boss is doing. Ooh, it's very like the other boss, and I didn't like my other boss, so oh no, here I go again. Like, I've got one person who has worked with me a little bit, but actually I don't think has worked with me enough, unfortunately, who has given up 3 jobs now in the last few years, because every job she goes into, she sees the same patterns again, and very quickly she runs away again. So she hasn't noticed yet that she's the common denominator. So if you're seeing a repeating pattern in every relationship, what's the common denominator? It's you. And that is not a place for you to get into self-judgment or beating yourself up or feeling terrible, but it is a place to bring some awareness to. So we can use our feelings as a really amazing guide. So your uncomfortable sensations in your body, anxiety, anger, frustration, the list is endless, isn't it? Those feelings are letting you know about your state of mind, how true your thinking is. If you've come across Byron Katie, she has some fab stuff out there, but she talks about this, and she talks about your feelings being a gauge to your state of mind, and so do people like Eckhart Tolle. I'm sure you've heard of, if you're in here, I'm sure you've heard of Eckhart Tolle. They tend to use a tool, a structure, to kind of help get you there, and I don't. I just teach you how it works, and the rest is The rest happens quite magically, to be fair. So that's the guide. If you're in something, so I notice Bruce's behaviour, and I start to feel, ugh, oh God, here we go again. No, he's just like the other one, blah, blah, blah. Oh, he's procrastinating again or whatever. And I start to feel icky. I start to feel uncomfortable. I start to feel wound up. Now, that wound up feeling isn't telling me a thing about Bruce. Not a thing. It's got nothing to do with him. He's letting me know that my state of mind is going awry right now. There's some worrying going on here. There's some old beliefs circulating. There's some old habitual thinking. There's some habits of what I see in the world. And the reason I know that is because it feels terrible. It's a lie. I'm feeling my untrue thinking in that moment. Now, that brings about a very different thought about what to do than if we think it's something else. If we think it's him, then it might make sense to say, Bruce, stop doing that, or God, can you do, or just, God, I need to leave him because he's not going to stop doing the thing he's doing I don't like. Whereas when I need to leave the job because that boss is just like my old boss, if we notice that comes with an uncomfortable feeling, that's your dodgy thinking. Your thinking's off in that moment. Now, what makes sense to do if you know your thinking's not good? Certainly not do anything in the outside world. If you know you're angry, do you tend to do so much? If you knew you had angry thinking, would you go and talk to somebody you love? Or make a life-changing decision to leave a job or move out of somebody's house or split up from somebody? But people do all the time. So that's a very different way of seeing it, which I hope is helpful. The pattern is in you. The pattern is not in the outside world. The pattern of thinking, the pattern of reacting. And it's old habitual thinking that is a pack of lies. Because, not least because, it's been learnt from your old experience of people. And you're just reapplying it to the person who's in front of you. And I really love, there's a lovely book called Right Now by Steve Chandler, and he talks about being more Dory. So you will probably have heard of Dory if you haven't been living under a rock for some time. Finding Nemo is the film I'm talking about, and Finding Nemo is a story about a little fish who gets lost. And he has a friend called Dory, and Dory is a fish with a very poor short-term memory. So Dory turns up to every single interaction with every other character in the film fresh and new. She's got literally nothing on her mind. She's got no preconceived ideas. She just turns up fresh and new to everything. And she always feels good. She's such a happy little fish. She's really, really, really happy. She just turns up fresh and new to everything, to everybody. And we don't. We literally come into every relationship dragging this bag of stuff behind us. Now, I don't know if you've ever tried dragging a bag of stuff, like a bag of rocks. Hurts, doesn't it? Like it's going to hurt your back, it's going to hurt your body. And, psychologically that hurts us too. It doesn't feel good. Imagine if you turned up every day fresh and new. And I tell you how you know you're doing that, because it feels good. Because it feels calm. And because it feels loving. And because it feels connected to intuition. Like JG, you said, people use a gut reaction instead. Slowing down, definitely. Yes, our feelings come from the beliefs. Thomas, I'd be interested to know what you mean by honour your feelings. Feelings are just information. I don't think they need us to honour them. They're just information. Yeah, honour them as the god of information. Yep, brilliant. I've got an emotion. I'm so lucky that I've noticed this emotion and now I know that my thinking's dodgy. I mean, yeah, honour them like that. Honour them as the gift that they are. But I'm not sure you mean that. Let me know what you mean. Yeah, Liddy, untrue thinking. Good. Yeah, Baron Katie talks a lot about that too. I don't know about spin theory, never heard of it. Michelle, you're late to the party. It's not so much of a party today because I'm feeling a bit meh, but sometimes it's a bit more party. Don't have the time issues anymore. Share the 3 principles. So thought, consciousness, and mind. But I do have a free track, and the free track is called what are the 3 principles and why do they bring more ease to life? And I recommend listening to that, Michelle, and checking out the link in my bio where there's loads more stuff about the 3 principles. Yeah, Karen, your relationship pattern is to push away before you're left alone. Okay. I feel it. You feel it is. Ugh, feel it's your choice or a self-fulfilling prophecy. Well, I think the latter, Karen, as a rule, really. Lots of things are self-fulfilling prophecies. This is back to confirmation bias I was talking about before. Once we go into something with this baggage that Dory doesn't have, we can, let me tell you that my story about this woman who had four jobs she's left due to bullying, and to me, like, the bullying she talks about is people not saying good morning to her or people giving her dirty looks. That's what she described as bullying. So let's just take you go into you've been bullied at one job. Let's say you really have been bullied at one job and it involved this kind of dirty look giving and snidey comments, or perhaps not saying good morning or not speaking nicely. And so you go into the next relationship or the next job carrying all that with you, and then somebody who's had a terrible morning, crashed their car, fallen out with their partner, and just had no sleep, comes into work with a face like a smack backside, in a foul mood, and doesn't say good morning to you. Bing. That's bullied. It's happening again. It's happening again. I'm getting bullied again. She didn't say good morning to me. I mean, the fact that you didn't say good morning to her is a bit irrelevant, but because you're not seeing the world like that, you're just seeing this person who's not said good morning to you. So they're not being nice to you. So they're bullying me again. So then the same thing happens again, the next day. And can you see how it's this taking it personally thing, because there's been some fear, there's some fear around bullying. Your system is like almost on red alert going, when's the next bullying going to start? And so then your perception of somebody's behavior is twisted. It isn't accurate. It really isn't accurate. And the reason you know it's not accurate is because it feels terrible. But this person couldn't see that. She couldn't see it at all. She couldn't see that she was the common denominator in 4 jobs in a row. Because the type of bullying she's talking about is people not speaking to her nicely. Well, who doesn't sometimes get out? I was a boss for a long time, and I sometimes got out of bed the wrong side and might have been a bit short with somebody and a bit grumpy, but we're taking that personally. And I'm not saying bosses are allowed to be horrible, not at all. Right, let's see what's come up. So yeah, Thomas, I like what you're sharing there about listening to your body, especially if you have yeah, I know about that condition. My head teacher I used to work for has got that. I can't pronounce it, but I do recognise it. Yeah, and noticing your own mood is really important, like you're saying, because sometimes we're just in a low mood, aren't we? Like, I woke up this morning feeling really grumpy, and Bruce went out for the day. Lucky for him. Otherwise, he might have got the brunt of it. He had to go out to work today. He usually works from home, but he was on a site today. So if he'd been staying here, I probably would have just told him, I'm feeling a bit grumpy today. Watch out. You know, I'm not probably going to be so nice. just like say it like that. And then he knows to be, well, he knows that, excuse me, I'm telling you what I'm going to be like, which I think is fair. Hello, Sue. Welcome. Nice to have you here. And don't worry about being late. I'm not keeping a register, as I used to do when I was a teacher. So spoon theory was invented to read chronic conditions, pain, etc. You have no spoons, you have no energy reserves. Ooh, so kind of pointing in the opposite direction, Thomas, here, because what I would say is that how do we even know how much energy reserves we've got? Like I did feel groggy this morning, felt a bit, but I went for a walk anyway. And, once I got out of bed, I felt a lot better. Like it's moment by moment. Nobody ever has no energy. I really don't, but I think our perception of that, of the human body, has been a bit messed about with by pathologizing everything. And maybe we don't know how much energy we've got. Like some days because I have, I guess it's the remnants of adrenal burnout. It manifests a bit of chronic fatigue sometimes. And some days I wake up, well, I have to say, since I burnt out in 2015, I don't think I've woken up one morning feeling particularly good. I felt rubbish most mornings. And yet, once I start to move and I do a bit of yoga, get my body kind of drink something, and I feel a lot better. And I usually do more than I think I'm going to be able to do that day. So, I think as well, Thomas, I know you've got something physical in your body, but be open to see that your capacity is more than you might think. Oh, and shin splints. I mean, I'm not a medical person, but my fiance has some acupuncture, and it sorted his shin splints out. Really did. So, but bless you. I'm sending you lots of love, Thomas, either way, really. But let's get back to relationship patterns. You're good at distracting me, you lot, aren't you? Little monkeys. So that's a bit about, well, a lot about, it's kind of what we've ended up covering. So I might come back to this subject again later in the series on relationships. That, well, we've covered it all really, haven't we? Sometimes we're taking always we have to remember that we are taking our belief system into everything. You can't take it out, pop it on the shelf and go into life without it. But you are being guided to know when it is at play all the time. And that is in the feeling. If you're noticing that it looks like you're stuck in some kind of similar pattern in a relationship, if it looks like your ex is like, your new relationship is like your ex, if it looks like your new job, your boss in your new job's like your boss in your old job, if you're feeling about your new job like you felt about your own old job, know that that's coming from inside you. How you feel about everything is coming from inside you. And then what makes sense to do is going to be different than what makes sense to do if you think it's coming from them. For Naz, I would say no, because what you're pointing to there. So you're saying, do I think this COVID era plays a part in this increase in people feeling low? There's nothing in the air, no. And I've never felt better, I'll be honest with you, than I have in the last 3 years. Pretty much since lockdown. Because I came across the 3 principles in January 2020. So just as the outside world did get a little bit strange, I was learning that my experience didn't come from the outside world anyway. So I was stepping into freedom and away from the idea that a COVID era or anything else could create my experience. It's just such a pervasive misunderstanding is the outside in misunderstanding, and we've been pointed to it quite potently in the last few years, where we're being told that the outside world has created experience, where we're being told that there's something called lockdown syndrome, where we're being told there's an increase in mental illness because of the outside world. It's a misunderstanding. The outside world doesn't create your experience, but if you think there's something called lockdown syndrome and you wake up feeling low and you are looking out there to see where the low feeling's coming from, of course you'll find a source out there, an illusionary source, but you'll find one. I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it because of the journey internally that I was going on at the same time. I mean, I liked it. I preferred it. I liked the fact that I got to see my fiance more, go out for walks. But that's different to thinking that it's creating or can take away my well-being. There is no atmosphere of well-being or not, because all of us have that inside us. You have innate well-being that can't be taken away. But we're being told it can. And so, of course, we perceive that it can. So if you're told that lockdown can make you mentally ill, and you wake up one morning during lockdown feeling a bit rubbish, you're going to think it's lockdown. Then you're going to report to your friends that you're feeling low because of lockdown. And then you're going to post it on social media. And then the newspapers get hold of it and they start to say the same thing. And before you know it, this whole crazy illusion's been created, which says lockdown, coronavirus, blah, 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 has created any of our experience. It hasn't created any of our experience at all. Because it can't do that. Because if it was coronavirus, if it was out there, if it was lockdown, all of us here would be in agreement. And have you noticed we're not? Have you noticed that you like FNAS? You liked it for a while and then you didn't? Circumstances didn't change. Your thoughts about it changed because you put a time constraint on it, or you thought it had gone on too long and you didn't want it to carry on. This outside-in misunderstanding is the one source of human suffering, and I'm hoping that by listening to this today you can see it, because as you start to see it, it's like, I often say it's like the Gremlins. Who saw the Gremlins movie? If you haven't seen it, I do recommend it. But there's a thing about Gremlins, if you don't know. So Gremlins are creatures that you mustn't feed. So they start off as these little fluffy balls. They look really cute, like pets. Gizmo is the little cute creatures. And if you feed them after midnight, or if you get them wet, they reproduce. And if you feed them after midnight, they turn into horrible monsters. And the only way to get rid of them, the Gremlins, is to put them out in the light. The outside-in misunderstanding is just a gremlin. And I'm here to help you with the light. To see that it's not real. But for now, you're still looking outside in. Life is affected by many things. No, it isn't. Media can't affect you either. It doesn't work that way. It's the wrong way round. I was surrounded by the same news as you, and I didn't experience any problems with it because I just took it all with a pinch of salt. The bits I listen to, I mean, I don't listen to a lot of it. Can't be bothered. There's so much of it pointing people in the wrong direction to the outside in misunderstanding. I'm not gonna give that the light of day, really, because it's nonsense. Watch out for labels too soon. Nobody's in anything. We're not a label. But we can create that through confirmation bias in exactly the same way. So I think you're right, JG. Media is a broken record of fear. Absolutely. I don't think there's a point to. I can honestly say I stopped listening to the news in about 2010. Because when I was a head teacher, I used to drive to work every day. By the time I got to work, I was like, oh my God, I hate my job. Something's wrong in education every time, and oh God, I just got bored of it and I stopped listening to it. I literally don't know what's happening in the world. I don't care. I think I could be fine with it if I did engage in it now. I don't want to. I've got better things to do with my life. Like, I'd rather sit here than watch the 10 o'clock news. I mean, 10 o'clock news, that's the worst. Don't listen to the 10 o'clock news, people, and go to bed with the news in your head. You'll have some even weirder dreams than I'm having at the moment, and I'm having some really strange ones. Anyway, we went all over the place there, but the aim with these sessions is not just to talk about the subject, but to keep pointing you towards the truth that your experience is created inside out, not outside in. And whenever you think it's being created outside in, by the news, by lockdown, by another person, by a job, by a relationship, by anything else, you are in a misunderstanding. Your feelings come from within, from thought in the moment and nowhere else. And it's the simplest truth. It really is. Right, let's see what else we're going to explore in the next. By the way, if you've only just come in, we've got 112 people. That's too exciting for words. I think people like this time slot. I like this time slot. I'm going to be doing, tomorrow is going to be in the morning, but very soon I'm going to be moving my Tuesday slot to a similar time to this, because I'm then going to be doing a very low cost Zoom session that people can come to just after. And I want to align my day and make it work for me. So we've nearly finished this one. So tomorrow morning at 8:05, navigating relationship challenges with resilience, because we all have some of those, don't we? Relationship challenges. Anybody not got any relationship challenges? Please tell me how, because I don't. I can honestly say I do have some still. And then August the 9th, which is Wednesday, 2:05 p.m. So that's probably going to work for quite a lot of people. Embracing vulnerability as a gateway to intimacy. And 11:05 on Thursday, connecting with intuition to guide your relationships. We've talked a little bit about intuition, but I think we'll have a really... Yeah, what is a relationship for now? It's a good question. That's an illusion probably too, isn't it? I heard somebody say once, there's no such thing as a relationship. You are in relation with whatever is going on in the present moment. And perhaps if we all just looked to that would ease this carrying of baggage into all our... Be more Dory, as Steve Chandler says. And then the 11th of Friday the 11th. Oh, Friday the 11th at 1:11. Who likes all the numbers? I don't know if Violet's here today. Violet likes the numbers. I'm going to go to Violet's live on Wednesday afternoon. Looking forward to that. Nurturing compassion and understanding, that one. Thomas, I can relate to what Fanas said. We always still have choice, no doubt. However, government and media can be very powerful. Probably how these days back to social media and less control, like how media can be used to whip the people up, can't it? Yeah. Yeah, I get what you mean about that, but our experience of listening to the media is created, the feelings we have about that is created by our relationship with it. And there will have been people who, well, we know there were people who didn't take on board that Nazi message, even though it was very strong, and the same in the other countries. If it was universal, then, you know, if that impact was universal, we'd all be having the same experience, wouldn't we? And we don't. I do an activity on I've got a stress workshop that I do for businesses, and I do an activity where I play 4 pieces of music, and one of them is a piece of music from, and after I've played each piece of music, the people have to put in the chat, how does this music make you feel? And it's so variable, and the most variable one really is there's a piece from Madame Butterfly. It's a really sad piece of music. If you know Madame Butterfly, it's really, really, really sad. But some people find it relaxing, some people find it calming, some people find it sad and tragic. It's so different, and that's really, really interesting too. Just from one piece of music, and that's just like a microcosm of the whole of life, where all of our experience is being created by thought in the moment, not by the outside world. Confirmation bias, Rachel. Yeah, if we expect it to be terrible, it will be. Absolutely. Brilliant. Well, Thomas, I'm so sorry to hear you feel depressed. But I'd love to chat to you about having depression. The pathologization of thoughts and feelings is rife, isn't it? Okay, we're on social media now. I'm going to stop before we get into social media being the conversation. Maybe I'll do a session on that. Let me know if you think, maybe I'll do something next month just around, like, generally what things people think. The things that look like they really are outside in, but they're not. Anyway, I'm still contemplating next month and what the topic will be. I better get moving because I have to start creating the course next week for it to be approved by Insight Timer in time for the start of September. And I'm away a lot at the end of August and beginning of September. So, yeah, I'm hardly on social media now. I'm mostly on here because it's nicer. Anyway, thank you so much. Hopefully you can join me for another one of those sessions. If you haven't already followed me, please do follow me. If you've missed this session and you wish you hadn't, because it feels like there might have been something juicy in it for you, then if you check out the link in my bio, it will at some point appear on a little playlist on there. Please, just a reminder to let you know that this session is brought to you by donation. Thank you to Emma, who's donated today, and anybody else who's donated. If you are able to make a donation, I will be truly grateful. That does support me in turning up here and sharing the 3 principles and helping everybody to see that the world works inside out, not outside in, and therefore everybody to be living life from a place of empowerment and peace. And why not? Wouldn't that be lovely? So, thank you, Thomas. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all those lovely, lovely, lovely hearts that are going on the side of the screen now. They're all so nice. They're so lovely. I do like the word lovely. And thank you so much for everybody's contributions. I can't name you all. I'm a bit like one of those people giving a speech at the Oscars, aren't I? I can't name you all, but thank you so much. I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, everyone who's given me so much support today. That's why I love coming here, because it's such a lovely, lovely space to hang out. Even though you do all try to distract me. Kids in class could do that as well, really easily. So there you go. Right, lots of love, everyone. Hopefully, I'll see some people tomorrow morning at 8:05. If not, at some point later in the week. Take care. Lots of love. Oh, thank you so much.